You are listening to Radio Maria Canada, a Catholic voice wherever you are. We now present the program Voices of Vocation, a program which features interviews of newly ordained priests in the Archdiocese of Toronto. Today's interview is conducted by Sephra D'Souza.
Hello, dear listeners, and welcome to another episode of Voices of Vocation. Our guest for today is Father Jeremy Zhu. Father Jeremy hails from China and is well educated in the sciences. What made him take this step to becoming a priest? Let's delve into the conversation and find out. Today we have Father Jeremy Zhu, one of the newly ordained priests in the Archdiocese of Toronto, and he is here to tell us about his experience of being a seminarian and now being a priest. So, Father Jeremy, thank you so much for coming down here and giving us your precious time and telling us about how life has been so far.
Thank you. Well, thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. So, Father, how has your day been so far?
It's actually been pretty good. I just finished coming from leading a youth retreat over this past weekend. It was like 3 days, 2 nights. It was very beautiful. The youth were so open to wanting to get to know Christ. Were so receptive to everything. But then because of that, by the time I came back yesterday, I was a little bit tired. So yesterday was more or less just resting. This morning was just a little bit resting as well. And then so it's just been like a bit of recuperating, but I'm more or less good now.
Awesome. Yeah. And where was this youth retreat?
It was up over in Mono. There's a retreat center called Valley Mother of God.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like right in the middle of a bunch of like hills in the middle of a forest. It's a very, very quiet spot.
Nice. So it's almost like a camping scene and a retreat combined?
More like a retreat center.
Okay.
My understanding was based on the signage and the way the retreat center was laid out. I believe that the owner said it used to actually be a monastery. That eventually, after all the monks moved out or they retired, they convert. The current owners they bought the center and they converted it to a retreat center.
I see.
So then, they just rented out to different retreat groups.
I see. Oh, that sounds pretty cool.
Oh yeah. It's nice.
What sort of monastery was it?
To be honest, I don't know. there were just rooms that said, there were just signs that said like a monastery, I guess, quarters for monks. Please do not enter. But no, everyone ignores us now.
Okay. Okay, fair enough. Considering everything, monasteries, seminaries, and everything in between, what made you pursue this path to priesthood?
So to be honest, I didn't really consider priesthood that much when I was growing up. It had to be more like God doing the groundwork to pull me over in this direction, instead of me actually like thinking, like feeling inspired to actually want to do it. So like, what I mean by that, maybe to clarify, is that when I was in high school, I did attend a few vocations retreats, stuff that was led by the vocations director at the time, Father Hansu Parks. So, like he led some retreats in the Archdiocese, and these were more vocations based. But realistically, by the time I reached grade 12, I kind of already figured that this was just like a phase in my life I was going through, and I wasn't really interested or invested in thinking that this was a potential future. So and this continued right into university, right? I wanted to become a pediatrician. So like I went and studied biochemistry at U of T downtown, and priesthood really wasn't anywhere on my top 200, 300 priorities in life, because I was also pursuing a girl at the time, and so there was nothing in my life that would have said like, Jeremy's going to become a priest, other than he was like a Catholic guy, right? So it was God that had to do a lot of the groundwork, and I hope I don't take up too much talking time, but like it really came over three incidences that God ended up pulling me over. So like the reason why I didn't consider priesthood as an option was because I couldn't see what was beautiful or good about it, in the sense that I knew it was good in my head, because that's how we got mass, that's how we got confession, but I wasn't convicted in my heart that this was for me, type of thing. So so God had to change that. So how he did it was kind of it was all his work. This is what I mean. It started in the second year university in the winter semester.
Okay.
So I just finished exams at that point. So this would have been late December. I think it was like December 21st or something like that. But it was pretty late in the year. I just finished exams, and so I was doing what some university students would do. So you either go partying or you would go back to your room and just like binge watch something, right?
Yeah.
So I was tired. I decided to do the binge watch option. So I went back to my dorm on campus. I just went to my room. I'm a sports guy, so I just went on YouTube and was just watching like NHL highlights, NBA highlights, so on and so forth. And like I had nothing the next day, no more tests, no more class, right? So I was just going through highlight after highlight after highlight. And it was 3 a.m. that much. Then I remember, on YouTube how they have that recommended feed on the side.
Yes, they do.
Yes.
They do, yeah.
Yeah, so very funnily on the recommended feed, a Vocations video popped up.
Oh.
Yeah, it was really weird.
Who would
but
have thunk that sports and then a vocation video?
I don't know. So like, that's what I mean. It was God that he had to do
Yeah.
everything, really. And honestly, this is a Vocations video I've seen at some of those like Vocations retreats before. So it wasn't anything that was going to surprise me.
Yeah.
But because once again I had nothing the next day, I was just like, it's 3 a.m. I might as well just watch it. So I watched it, and there was a line in that Vocations video. It happens about halfway through, and where it said very clearly that Christ got off the boat and he saw the crowds, and his heart was moved for them because they were lost and confused. They were sheep without a shepherd, and for whatever reason, it really moved me. It struck me really, really hard. Embarrassingly, I actually found myself crying from my laptop. It was really weird. I was just like, whoa, like, yeah, it was beautiful. Like, it just like for every reason, just rocked me to the core. But then I didn't think priesthood at all because at that time I just took over as like the youth minister leader at my home parish. So I just figured that this was just Jesus saying like, do a good job, right? And I was like, yeah, Jesus, I'll do a good job. Okay, I could do that, man. So then I kind of put the incident out of my head. And I just like, went on with my life pursuing hopefully a career in pediatrics and like, pursuing a relationship. Yeah. But that was not what God had in mind because about 3 months later, I was praying from this very beautifully painted image of the Sacred Heart. Like it looks like it was painted that's like staring right into your soul, like that type of thing. So anyways, I was just like praying in front of it one day. It was like in the afternoon, I think. And it was just like staring at him and letting Christ stare at me. Yeah. And then very surreally, in the span of a second, all of the faces of the young people that I was serving at that time, they flashed in my mind. And then I heard a voice in my heart, like not my ears, like, audibly, but deep down my heart say like, in the future, these will be sheep without a shepherd. Who's going to watch over them? And like, I was very like, disturbed again. I was just like, oh my gosh, like, where did that come from? Like, that was really weird. But once again, priesthood didn't come as a consideration. I was just like, the youth minister terms at home parish are like just 1 year terms. So I just figured that the God was just saying, do it like a second year or third year. And I was just like, okay, God, I could do that. I'll do a second year or third year, whatever you want. Like, but once again, priesthood wasn't there. It didn't really concretize yet. But I could see now in retrospect, God was just tilling the soil for one last intervention, you can say. Because a few months later, like I happened to be attending a young adult retreat at this particular retreat center. And like maybe you could picture in your head at this particular retreat center, they had a chapel and there's a hallway, like a nice hallway outside this chapel, right? Yeah. And on this hallway, there is a window that faces west towards like the setting sun. Okay. And there's a picture of Christ directly across this window. And so I happened to one day late in the afternoon.
Rays.
Close. You're getting there. I happened to one day exit the chapel, and the sun was the right angle in the sky as it was setting. Yeah. I was the right distance away from Christ in the picture of Christ, and Christ was the right place on the wall. Yeah. That my shadow fell exactly within Christ's shadow, but the beautiful thing was because it was behind a pane of glass, you didn't see any of my features at all. Right. You only saw Christ's features like shining through my shadow. Yeah. And it was then finally why the priesthood was beautiful. Like why it just hit me then. Yeah. I finally realized that wow, if God calls a young man to be a priest, he can transform him so much that when a person sees this priest, they don't see Father whoever, they only see Jesus Christ. Like Christ could transform a man so much that he can live all the mysteries of his life again through this person. And then I was actually like, well, that's kind of beautiful. That's actually kind of cool. And I would say it was only at that moment that my heart was finally open to the possibility that maybe God wanted me to be a priest. And then I didn't want to, like, still, but my heart was finally open to the possibility. And God just took from there, because like I just started praying about it. And over the next few years of university, very disturbingly, I very much felt that I started noticing that I felt a lot of peace whenever I brought up the priesthood came up in prayer, and I just couldn't find it when I prayed about marriage or anything. And then I got in contact with Father Chris Lemieux, who's a vocations director at the time. He got me connected to the spiritual director. We started sorting out stuff interiorly, and then they invited me on a few come and sees, and to my shock, I actually I felt the same peace that I felt, and through those 3 incidences there at the seminary. And just throughout, I had a chance to work 1 year at Sick Kids Hospital, and I tried to force myself to love it because this is what I want to do in the future. But the peace wasn't there at all in any way at all. And by last year, university just got really annoying because the thoughts of priesthood were just there all the time. I didn't ask for it. It was like you know how you might have this friend that's always super annoying that just keeps like poking you about everything?
I am that friend usually.
Oh, okay. So you are that friend. Right, so in this case, you relate very much to Jesus then, because like
no.
Yeah. No, you do. Because in this very last year of university, that was what Jesus was doing. It was so annoying every single day. Like I was living downtown. I would wake up and the only thing being in my mind is priesthood. I would take the TTC, it was priesthood. I'd be sitting in virology classes, priesthood. I'd be in the lab at Sick Kids, it would be priesthood. And then I'll be I don't know, like everything was always priesthood. And then by the time I was in February of 2017, I knew my heart lay in the seminary, and I think the vocations director discerned likewise. So when Father Chris and I we sat down for lunch one day at this like a White Rock Cafe somewhere in like the Bloor West Village area, he just slid over the application form, and I knew it was the right thing to do, so I just took it and then I applied, and then it got accepted. So
amazing. Oh my gosh. And the excitement with which you say this, I say hats off to you, because you've made this your life, your everything, and you're fully convinced and you're fully into it. So God bless you for that, Father Jeremy.
Oh, thank you. I mean, God wrote the entire story. I just kind of dragged along with it. And then,
He's the author and finisher of our lives.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So, Father, so it's been seminary days and very recently priesthood days. So do you see a difference between Deacon Jeremy and Father Jeremy?
There is a difference.
Okay.
I don't know how to put it, in the sense that I think as a seminarian, this might be the same feeling, I'm gonna guess, that couples have when they're married. Because when you're a seminarian, so like the time that you're in the seminary, it's almost like the time when you're like very seriously dating the church. Because the church is my bride.
Is your bride, yeah.
So yeah, and then when the moment you're ordained a deacon, it's like the moment that you are like betrothed, that type of thing. So like when the period when a guy proposes to the girl up to their wedding day, it's like almost like the diaconate period.
Yes.
Like it's like it's gonna be it's coming the wedding, and like the relationship becomes much more serious and committed, right? Yeah. But still. Because you're not officially married yet, you can still do all your like silly, stupid stuff.
Yes, exactly.
As a guy, right?
Yeah.
But then once you are married, I don't know what it is. Like some type of like instinct, just something kicks in that you have like, oh, okay, I'm supposed to be a father now. Yes. I have to like live as a father and man up and be a father, right? Yeah. So that's mostly been the feeling that I've felt ever since ordination, and that there's just been a bunch of stuff in my life that I used to consider as priorities, and they're good things, they're not like bad things at all. But then after being ordained, the main priority of like Christ's mission that just suddenly took over as a top thing. I don't know how else to put it. Just in prayer, just know it, like that's the most important thing now. Like you're supposed to be spiritual father, and then everything else just kind of like takes second, third, fourth, fifth place, like however far down the chart it needs to be. So like there's been that interior shift, and I think it kind of reflects in your actions, because if you're given a choice now between choosing something for yourself versus just being available to somebody, whereas in seminary I'd be like, I pick myself. Like,
I know.
yeah, exactly. Like now as a father, you'd be like, I'll be available. Like I'll give up that thing just to be here for you. That type of thing. So just even after 1 week of like ordination, like I'm starting to notice that. So there's been a change.
There's been a change. I see. That's really nice. You seem to be a very devoted husband. Shall we say?
It's still the honeymoon phase. So
It's
we'll
still
see.
the honeymoon, yeah. So honeymoon up until June, I'm guessing, and then
I
after
guess, yeah.
that, reality hits. Okay,
Yes,
all the
yes.
best for that, Father. God bless you, and may He be with you in this journey. Are there any challenges you can share with us that you faced in discerning, announcing, and pursuing your vocation? So far, it's been Jeremy's story, but what about the people around Jeremy's life who said yes, no, or maybe to you becoming a priest?
Oh, okay. So meaning more like challenges pre-seminary, like before I was planning to go in, or challenges during seminary? Is there a particular?
Pre, during, and after.
Oh, pre, during, and after.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Pre-seminary. My family was generally pretty supportive of me going in, and same with my friend circles, so I didn't really experience too much difficulty there. I would say most of the challenges probably came during seminary, and I think this was more let's dial it back a little bit. I think pre-seminary, probably the big challenge was trying to in a sense like figure out if this is what God wanted me to do or not, because like, you know, on the one hand there's like an entire career in medicine, and then on the other hand there's like, you know, there's a whole priesthood, so like what does God want me to do? My spiritual director was very, very helpful with this. The most important, I think the advice that still sticks out to me that he gave is I came up to him several times during university, during that discernment phase, going like freaking out a little bit, going like, you know, Father, does God want me to be this, or does God want me to be this? Like, why doesn't He just tell me for, you know, like, you know, that type of thing? Like, yeah, it's like, you know, why drag it out, the whole thing? And then he said a few things that I found really, really, it was really helpful. He said that, well, I'm just paraphrasing now, but
of course.
he said that, Jeremy, the thing to remember is that at the end of the day, every vocation is supposed to be a calling to how you best receive love and how you would best love. So it's not something you should be, you know, rushing, that type of thing, right? And so he said with God, when God calls someone to one of the vocations of life, and everyone has a vocation, He is not so much looking to give you the answer, but as to enter a relationship with you. And what he meant by that is that, you know, in the discernment process, if every single time you come to prayer and say like, you know, God, what do you want to be? Do you want me to be married? Do you want me to be a priest? Do you want me to be your brother? In a sense, you now have a personal relationship with that question. He said like, you know, when you come to prayer, like God gives you, in a sense, makes you have to discern. So you have to talk to Him and then enter into a relationship with Him. And it's only through that relationship with Him, as it gets deeper, then gradually He'll start revealing the answer to you. So he said, like, you know, it's good to ask this question in prayer, you know, God, do you want me to be A, B, or C? But just leave it at that. And just remember, He just wants a relationship with you. So enter that relationship first. And then gradually, over time, He'll unpack everything. So that was the main thing he said to me. But then he followed up with a second bit of advice. He also said, he said that, you know, the thing with vocations is that because it's a calling to ultimately receive love and be loved, the time before you enter your vocations, it's like your heart's supposed to be tilled to be ready for that type of love. And so he said, the most important thing you can do now, if you're right now discerning between multiple vocations, is just to do all the vocations you've already been called to faithfully. So whether it be like a student or like a leader in this youth group, or maybe like I'm a son to your mom and dad, he said, list out all those vocations, do those well and faithfully. And he said, God, through those vocations, will mold your heart so that it will be ready to love and receive love in one of the big vocations in the church, whether it be priesthood or marriage or like, you know, consecrated religious or single life type of thing. And so he said, like, you know, just be faithful to what you've been asked to do. And then one day you'll just suddenly realize in retrospect that God has molded your heart through all your faithfulness to desire one of these. And so he said that, you know, just ask the question, don't worry about it, just be faithful to all of what you've been asked, and God will make your heart ready for one of them. So then that's kind of what I did, and then it worked. So I, you know, yeah, so that kind of like took care of like that, I guess, question or problem I was experiencing at that time. But yeah, that'll be the main problem I experienced during the pre-seminary phase.
I see.
Yeah.
Amazing, Father. And through all of these things, did you ever have a crisis of faith?
Oh, I mean, crisis. Oh, yeah, definitely. Like,
Really, you're pretty cool about it.
yeah. Like, as in the way they put it at the seminary is that well, I don't know. My spiritual director told me this. Maybe he just told me this to make me feel better. Like, yeah, I have no idea. So, like, but anyways, he said that if you as a seminarian don't have at least like one vocational crisis per year while you're at the seminary, you're probably you're probably doing it wrong. So like
Okay,
so
then.
yeah, because like the thing is that you know, how would you say, you're trying it's just the same thing as like, you know, if you're dating, if you don't have at least like one fight a year,
Yeah,
like,
one fight a week, I would say.
yeah, exactly, right?
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
not going to be able to learn to love this person at a deeper level.
That's
So you
true.
have to have at least one vocational crisis per year, like as you're going through the seminary. And it has happened. Like every single year, I can pinpoint at least one thing where I was like going like, what am I doing here? Like, you know, yeah.
So you had those moments.
Yeah, for sure, definitely. Yeah, it happens all the time, and yeah, but it's like all those moments are just meant for God to like, in a sense. And I think it's the same with dating. Like, you know, you have those moments like, you know, why am I with this girl, right? But then like, if you're able to get through it, you're able to love her at a deeper level because you're able to
Yes.
overlook that like quirk or that little thing that you just like
Yeah.
suddenly like blew up over, right? And it's the same thing with the church. Like, you know, you'll be like, why am I with this girl? And then like you sort it out, and then it's like, okay, I can see why with her. It's like, yeah.
She's worth it.
Yeah, she's worth it.
She's
exactly.
worth it. He's worth it. He's worth all the trouble.
Yeah, exactly,
all of
exactly,
that.
right? Yeah, you have to love warts and all. So,
Yes,
yeah.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any fun loving something that's perfect.
Yeah, no, there isn't.
No,
Because then
I
you always feel
mean-
inferior.
Yeah, it's natural to love something that's perfect. I think, you know, it's like you said, warts and all. All right, Father. Now, what's a typical day in the life of a seminarian?
Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah.
depends which day of the week you pick. Like,
I pick Monday, the worst day of the week.
oh, okay, yeah,
In
Monday.
general, I don't know how it's
All right.
whether Monday is the worst day of the week for you.
No, it's cool. It's cool. Actually,
Okay.
so if we just went by like the usual Monday, for us, let's pick the second semester schedule. Second semester Mondays were probably our most busiest days. So like on the parish, we would have on the weekend, we would have just done a parish placement. So you know, you're kind of tired from doing ministry, but then on Monday you still have to do class. So anyways, so basically, the weekend used to be a weekend, but then now with the parish Sundays, which are a good thing, they're a really good thing. It just meant that you're kind of tired going to Monday. So how a Monday would look like is that you will start off in the morning at 6:30 with adoration. So it varies guy by guy. So like adoration starts sharp at 6:30 in the morning in the main chapel, but some guys choose to be there earlier just to have quiet prayer before the Lord, right? And which is just good training and practice, because one day as a priest, that's probably the only time you're ever going to get to pray, like early in the morning before the church opens. So like so some of the guys would be there early, some guys would come right at 6:30, but regardless, 6:30 is the start time. Holy hour is like we do like a holy hour 6:30 7:30, but starting at 7:05 we do the morning prayers, like louds, like the liturgy of the hours together, and we chant it together. So like it's beautiful. Like we took like there's a seminary in the States called Mundelein that took like the Latin notations and hymns and texts of like the Psalter, and they translated it to English but put it into the original like chant notation.
Yes.
So like we're basically chanting
In
Beau-
like 4-part harmony.
maybe not that
Oh, okay,
sophisticated.
cool.
Yeah, but like, we're still
Okay, sorry
chanting.
about
So it
that.
sounds very monastic, like that type of thing. It's very
Nice,
beautiful, like, you know, left side
nice.
versus the right side. So like, you know, like
Yeah.
that type of thing. And then after morning prayer, it will be breakfast.
Mm-hmm.
And then the thing is, on Mondays, if you're in the last year at the seminary, that's your confession day. And confession
Mm-hmm.
classes are long, so your breakfast would usually be cut short. So breakfast would start at 7:30,
Mm-hmm.
and usually would, like, you know, your class. Typically classes don't start until 9, but because the confession class, there's a lot of content to cover, we start at 8 sharp. So we have like a rush through a 30-minute breakfast, get to confession class. Confession class is 4 hours long. So like it's because the way to put it is that how would you say this? The only confessions that and I didn't realize this until the professor told us. The only confession that you're going to be you're used to up to this point in your life is yours, and you assume that this is the standard for everybody. But then what the professor told us is that if a priest faithfully hears confessions for like an entire year, you can probably hear almost every sin you can think of in existence, and then some more. And so you have to be able to address almost everything. Hence, this is why confession classes are 4 hours long, because you have to be able to you have to discuss almost every possible scenario that can pop up. And even then, we didn't cover everything. And then you also have to squeeze in practicums, where you embarrassingly have to listen to a confession from your professor who models someone from a different age or different, like, whatever. And then your classmates sit there and laugh at you as you try to like try to like figure out what you're supposed to say. And
Nice.
yeah, so it's 4 hours long. And then you get a little bit of break for lunch, and then afterwards we had a 2-hour class on preaching, difficult situations. And then we'll have another short break, and then we had chant practice with the choir director. So chant practice is just to learn how to like sing the mass or like the important parts of liturgy. And then we had mass, and then it was dinner, and then it was finally the evening when we could take a breather. And so during the evening, it depends. Monday evenings there would be typically some type of sport going on. So some of the guys would choose to de-stress by going to like the play sports like basketball, soccer, or something like that. Some guys would hit the actual like weight room in the basement and just like crank out some iron. Some guys would prefer just to do the homework because full day of class, you definitely have homework and readings to do. Some guys would just go into the student lounge and they'll be watching NHL or NBA, or something like that. So we got different guys would do different stuff to de-stress.
Can I guess which one you did?
Oh yeah, sure.
The NHL and NBA.
Actually, no. I was the guy that hit the weight room. So like
okay. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm a weight room
My
guy.
bad.
I know. It's okay. It's okay. Close guess. Yeah.
Close guess. Okay.
Yeah. So that's a typical Monday, and then you try to. And then the seminary has something called grand silence at 10, which means there should be no more like talking at 10, and you shouldn't be on your phone at 10. But then, we tend to follow the rule for about 1 month. And then afterwards, the guys just start like, you're with a bunch of other dudes, right? You're just going to chat and like,
that's true.
yeah, it's 10 o'clock plus or minus an hour. Right? So, yeah.
Awesome. That's interesting. And it's kind of nice to know that, you guys are pretty much the same as us guys.
Yeah,
and
I hope so.
that's what makes it so relatable. And I imagine that would help us approach you more without any, hesitation, bring our troubles to you in confession, I would imagine, or like, in a private conversation where, as the practice goes, you go to a priest and you make yourself feel lighter over there with his advice and his direction. So yeah, thank you for being so much like us.
Oh, well, thank God.
Well, yeah, maybe we gotta become more like you. Anyway, so during this development process and formation process, did you have any particular saint you developed a devotion to?
Maybe not so much devotion, but more like a set of. So I would say I'm very drawn towards Carmelite spirituality. So
That was my next question, but then you
okay.
covered it.
All right. So most of my saint friends tend to be more of like the Carmelite flavor, but because I also like youth ministry. So here's the thing: how people have different friend groups. I tend to have different friend groups of saints. So like if it's like if it has to do anything with my interior life or like growing holy, I go to the Carmelite people. So so for instance, John Paul II, even though he wasn't a Carmelite, in his he grew up loving Carmelite spirituality, and that's why for him everything is about like redemptive suffering and reintegration of the human person. So I love John Paul II a lot. Teresa of Avila, John of the Cross, Teresa of Lisieux, the Carmelite peoples. Mother Teresa, she's technically much more Ignatian, but because she lived redemptive suffering so well, a lot of people say that she's a bit of an Ignatian Carmelite hybrid type of thing. But anyways, so Mother Teresa's up there too. She's though more Ignatian still, but like I love Mother Teresa as well. So that's for all my interior life stuff. If it's to do with youth ministry, the people I go to would be John Bosco, Maria Goretti, Blessed Pier Giorgio Frassati, and Dominic Savio. So those four. And then if it's to be a good priest, I'm like struggling with like priestly stuff. I'll go to Jose Maria Escriva, John Vianney, and Thomas Aquinas. And then if it's just how would you say if it's just like general, meaning that like I know that you've been watching me over me my entire life. I go to my home parish saint, which is Saint Agnes Koying Cao, so one of the Chinese martyrs, Saint Augustine, and Saint Monica. So just depending on the situation I need to have, I tend to hang out with a different group of saints, that type of thing.
I think that's amazing because you have your own friend group of saints, and depending on your life situation, you have a certain set of friends you can speak to anytime.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty cool. And honestly, Father, I think that's a fantastic answer and a fantastic way of approaching things. Father, you mentioned that you're Chinese. Do you ever think of going back home in this vocation that you've chosen right now?
Whether I've ever thought of going back or like doing ministry in this field, I don't know what God has in store for me. Like I just served for diocesan priesthood, so I've received for myself like to be in the Archdiocese of Toronto long term. Whatever God says. Like the only slight problem with me being able to go back to China is like I have absolutely zero language ability in Chinese, so like I would stick out like a sore thumb. Like
Okay.
yeah, like languages just don't stick. I went through Chinese school. I don't remember anything except like the food. I took Italian for a year. I don't
Yeah.
remember anything except the food. And
Nice.
then yeah, I also kind of didn't pass Latin class in seminary, but like yeah, so like that's kind of like so languages just generally don't stick. Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
Then maybe you're a numbers person.
hence that's why I went for the
Yeah.
biochemistry route and like the
yes.
med stuff before.
Yes,
So like
yes.
if you're talking about numbers or body or so chemistries like that type of stuff, that makes a
Yeah.
lot of sense to me.
To you. You can balance equations. You can balance chemistry formulas.
Yes.
I hated that in school.
Everybody's different.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, the difference is great, but I would cry solving those equations and then discuss answers after the exam, and then one person gets -3 and I am like x to the power of 4 somehow, and I know it's wrong, and then well, I would I hated it, but that's brilliant of you, Father.
It seems like your cup of tea is doing this. You're a very good radio host.
Oh my gosh. Okay, that's very kind of you, Father. I remember a priest once telling us back in my home parish that the faith was brought to the east from the west, or by the west. One day the east will remind the west what they've forgotten.
That I won't be surprised about that.
Yeah.
Not just Asia, but also a lot of the African countries and also from
Yeah.
South America as
Yes,
well.
yes.
Like where we used to do missionary work in the last like 200, 300, 400 years to bring
Yeah.
Catholicism to.
Yeah.
Now they are sending missionaries back the other way.
Yes.
This is needed.
Absolutely. And I think, yeah, if that particular priest is listening, well, you're right. So this is the state in Asia, and this is how bad it is. Father, do you think that there would be persecution for the church on a global level also coming? And what is the role of a priest in such a case?
That's a very interesting question. I'm not going to pretend I would know, I know the future because I don't have like I don't have any of that type of gift in
Yeah.
any way at all.
Yeah.
I would say that I would just say that so the way they put it to us at the seminary is that every single age of the church will have its period of persecution, and it would go through its, in a sense, its own like revelation or apocalypse, and that every age of the church would experience an extremely difficult moment.
Yeah.
Like so like in like the very early church, for instance, Arianism like suddenly took over like wildfire, and like the Catholic Church, like if you're a Catholic bishop or priest or like even a Catholic practicing person, you were suppressed for a very, very long time, for like decades or so, and then afterwards, after that whole thing passed, then Rome fell, so that was almost like the end of the world. It's almost like in the modern day comparison, like if the entire United States and the
Yes,
Western world collapsed,
absolutely.
like, and then the world just went to anarchy, right? So like, and then the church had to like try to exist or be a voice for people when everything was just absolute chaos. And then after that, there became all of the rise of Islam and like all of the Muslim invasions into like the northern parts of Africa and also the Middle East, so we lost a lot of like the central parts of Christendom. And then soon not too long after that, then there came over like the Protestant Revolution, and then in the 1800s and 1900s were all the great wars in Europe as well that really shattered people's faith in God. And then in the current age, we're experiencing a whole rise of you have like atheism, agnosticism, postmodernism, like these all new philosophical movements, and a lot of people are turning away from the church here. So like every single age, we're going to experience our own like period of, I guess, like being disliked and persecution. We're probably I would probably say that we're probably entering ours soon, or like we're probably like starting to become in the more at the thick of it type of thing. Yeah. And I guess the role of a priest in this case, that's a very good question. Like, I hope that we can just stay faithful over to who Christ is. And then I think it just requires a bit more courage on our end, as in to actually be able to bring up more difficult topics, whether it be at the pulpit or like through other talks that we do at the side, to be a great witness to holiness, to actually form those who are inside the churches currently to be saints. Because honestly, it is throughout the history of the church, whenever the church rebounded, it was not so much because we suddenly developed this wonderful, great program or something that like brought people back. It was because there was a saintly person, like Saint John Vianney brought back, and Saint Therese of Lisieux almost single-handedly brought back France to the into the Catholic fold just from the example of their lives. And like I think our responsibility as priests is to first be saintly ourselves, so that we can actually be channels of God's holiness to the people within our parish and also within our neighborhood. But then in doing so, to help form and inspire the laity to actually want to be saints too. Because really, even on this like last youth retreat that I went on, I was really surprised to hear that most of the youth, when they said how they heard about the youth retreat and the reason why they came, is because their friends at school told them about it, and that's why they came. And like I think that's the power of the laity. There's a priest sometimes, as much as a priest does have a voice in the church, if a father somebody says like something at the pulpit, people sometimes just cross arms and go, the priest said it, whatever. Exactly. But a friend says like, hey, have you tried doing this or consider doing this, and the example of your friend's life is just holy. And, holiness, there's an aura to it. Like there's a wonderful fragrance to it that draws people. You're gonna be like, your life is together. There's something beautiful about it. I can see there's hope. There's something there in your life that I don't have. I'm gonna go and do and come to this thing that you recommended for me. And then like if the priest has to really work hard to inspire the people that want to be a church to be saints, and then it's them from there that will be able to inspire their family, people at work, to want to be saintly too. And then it's from there that like we'll be able to start drawing back, I guess, like to slowly come back. I don't know, I'm just kind of spitballing, so like
No, fair enough. And I think that's cool, and I hope for the best, and I suppose you hope for the best too. Father, I've noticed that the both of us have our rosaries out.
Oh yes.
Team rosary. So I am guessing you pray the rosary daily or no?
Yes.
You do? Amazing. May Our Lady be with you on this journey. And I think she was the one who brought you here to her own radio to give your testament.
Thank you. You're too kind.
So you mentioned that you really enjoyed this youth retreat that you had been on.
Yes.
And do you and yes, you also have different saints for different aspects of your life. Now, where do you see you forming your ministry? Is it going to be with the youth? Is it going to be, say, with the working people? Is it going to be with the college people? Because you were a student in a very famous university. So
I'll leave it all into God's hands. Like I have no idea what He has in store for me. I do kind of hope, like this is my own personal selfish part of speaking. I do kind of hope that it will be like more youth ministry or young adult related. But all in God's hands, as in like whatever He wants me to do, I'll be happy with it. So He's kind of spoiling me because my first assignment's over at St. Barnabas, and St. Barnabas has a massive youth population. But then who knows? For all I know, I could be sent to this like this tiny like war country parish or farm parish like in the northern part of the diocese, and I'd be happy with that too. So whatever God has in store.
Father, your cheerfulness is contagious. God bless you for that. Really.
Oh, thank you.
So there was a girl whose heart you broke.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess we're going to that.
Yeah, we're going to that.
Okay.
I'm kidding. But so now that you've taken your vows of celibacy, how has it been a blessing for you? And when you were in the process of studying, how did you think it would be a blessing for you?
Okay, so celibacy. So I don't know. I find that sometimes I find it like the question is like how is celibacy for you, like to be a kind of a funny question, because
It is
like
a funny question. I did it on purpose.
yeah, because if I go up to a married couple and say like I'd say to them, how's it being like married to this one person, only this one person to you? Like
I want to strangle him. That's the first reaction.
Exactly right. I'm just like it's like I discerned to marry this person, man. It's like so why are you kind of questioning it?
It's a trick question.
But I would say definitely if I'm to say like so before I just knew the theory about celibacy letting you be available for all of God's children.
Yeah.
This past youth retreat taught me how true that was. Because like this past youth retreat, we actually had a bunch of so because this youth group came from my home parish, and it's like a generational thing. So meaning like a lot of the youth that go to this youth group, they end up marrying each other, and they end up having kids, and their kids come to this youth retreat like later on when they're finally older, right? So on this particular youth retreat, we actually had a lot of parents and their kids attending, like they brought their little kids like as like day visitors, and some of the routines are also like kids like former routines anyways. So there are so about 60 teenagers in total, and then a bunch of kids and like their parents. I got a chance to finally contrast concretely what the difference between married life and like being a priest. So at this youth retreat, for instance, we had a period in the afternoon that was 2 hours of free time, right? So for 2 hours of free time, because I was the priest, I was in the confessional, and like giving confessions or giving spiritual direction. For the parents, for those 2 hours, they were taking care of the kids.
Yes.
Because a little Marie wanted to go and play outside, you had to play outside with her. If her sister suddenly got scraped on the knee, you have to take care of that. And then how would you say if they were suddenly hungry, you had to go and make sure that they were fed. So your entire vocation is to take care of your kids and make sure they get to heaven one day. Same with your spouse, right?
Absolutely.
Whereas my vocation is to make sure that the people that have been entrusted to me get to heaven. So both of us were making sure our people got to heaven, just in different ways. So so that became really concrete. And the other thing that became really concrete too was that especially in the evening, there's two priests on this retreat, myself and another priest from my home parish, and in the evening we were listening to confessions until like 2 a.m. that type of thing. But for like the parents, with the older kids, they were able to get to rest because the older kids don't want to sleep, and the parents with the younger kids, they weren't able to get any rest. So like we were able to relate with that, because if your kids knock on your door at 2 a.m. and they have an issue, or they just want to sleep, or they pooped or something like that, you have to take care of it. So like so it was kind of funny, and it was nice to finally see like the parallels and the differences of like what it's like. But yeah, I could see why celibacy is such a good thing, because if I had a child or like to take care of at the retreat, or if I had a spouse I had to give my attention to during the retreat, I would have no idea how to balance that. Like in my free time, like those 2 hours, was I supposed to spend with my spouse or my kid, or was I supposed to listen to confession? Like I'm suddenly torn in three directions. Whereas if you're celibate, it's just clear you're in the confessional. But if you're married, you're with your kid. It's like it's just clear. Yeah.
It's a very good answer, Father. Now, last but not the least, how would you like to be remembered? What sort of legacy would Father Jeremy Zhu like to leave behind?
Oh, that's a good question. Never thought of that far.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
No, it's okay. I think the main thing I want to be remembered for is that this was somebody that cared that you got to heaven.
Yeah.
And other than that, you better not remember anything else about me. You better remember everything that I taught, so you could get to heaven yourself. So priority of things that you need to remember, the stuff that gets you and your family and your friends to heaven should be the first, and then the footnote that it was Father Jeremy should just be a footnote. Okay.
So, Father, I know I said that there was a last question, but that was probably the second to last question.
Okay, that's absolutely fine.
I have now the final question. The best wine is served last.
Okay.
So, tell us, what was your experience, considering you are a newly ordained priest, what was your experience raising the host for the first time and consecrating the host for the first time?
Okay. It was beautiful. I don't know how else to put it, as in the first time, so when we were ordained, we got to celebrate at the cathedral, but it was still like, His Grace that was mainly doing all the, everything like at the altar, right? So I had my first, the first time I actually did it, myself was during my first mass at my home parish, St. Agnes, like at the 2 p.m. mass in the afternoon on Sunday, and yeah, lifting up Jesus, with the bread and the chalice. I don't know what else to say. It was just beautiful. I actually no. There was one thought that crossed my mind. How sorry, this sounds like absolutely irreverent. But like the main thought that crossed my mind was like, ha ha ha. Now I get to do this whenever I need to. I don't have to go to mass like at a fixed time in the church anymore.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah, because realistically, like as a priest, you're supposed to say mass every single day at home. So as a seminarian, whenever I visited home, I always had to like adjust my schedule so that I had to like go with whatever mass time the nearby parish had it, right? But now that I'm ordained a priest, like I could literally say mass whenever I want. so I typically try to do it when either my mom, dad, or older sister, younger brother are available, because they're all different work schedules, so it's kind of hard for all of them to be there. But like but it's kind of nice because now I know like I can just literally pop down and and say to my mom, like, hey mom, do you want to have mass right now? And then she'll be like maybe give me 5 minutes, or she'll be like, oh yeah, why not, we'll just do it right now. And so then we just have mass, and then so I was just like, yeah. So that was the main thought that went through my head. I was just like, yes, I could do this anytime I want now. And it's just like yeah. So if I want Jesus, I could just pull out everything and just do it.
Do you carry him around in your pocket wherever you go?
Oh, well, I can't carry a host around with me.
No, of course.
Yeah.
Metaphorically speaking, Father Jeremy.
Oh, I carry mom around with me.
Good.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah. Mama's boy at heart. Yeah.
Amazing. With that, we come to the end of another edition with Father Jeremy. Thank you very much for taking the time out and choosing to spend the day at Radio Maria and telling us about your experience.
Oh, and to everyone at Radio Maria, thank you for having me over.
And with that, we wrap up our conversation with Father Jeremy Zhu. We hope and pray that Father Jeremy remains faithful to his vocation, and we also hope and pray that his countrymen remain faithful to the Church. God bless you, Father Jeremy, and may Our Lady be your guide.
You have been listening to Voices of Vocation here on Radio Maria Canada.